Hey, thanks for checking out another episode of Triple Play. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Don't forget to support us. You can do that on almost every platform for as little as $1.99 or $2.99. So those add up. They help us to continue to improve and do different things. So buy our guest water and and have a good time. And also, don't forget to check out our big sponsor, Brookes Bible College. We're thankful for Brookes and their partnership. Brookes is here in the Midwest. If you're looking for a good biblical degree to get into ministry, do mission work, or a counseling degree, consider Brookes Bible College. And all their information is in the show notes. That said, we're excited about our return guest today. And it's just you.
Just me.
Just you. Let me get you a little closer to here so they can hear you a little bit better. You move that to where you wanted. Can you able to get that a little closer there?
How's that?
Much better.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
I have a deep voice, so.
That's okay. You're fine. I want to make sure we can catch it all. So, because the last time you were here, we had a lot of distractions going on.
Yeah.
In fact, 6 of them, right? So there were 6 monkeys, and incredible story, but I was kind of sharing this earlier. Everybody who heard it and watched it, they're like, the monkeys were amazing, but did she say what I think she said? I said, yes, she did, but I said, we're going to try to get her back because your story is quite extraordinary to what's led up to where you're at today as an extraordinary person.
Oh,
so
thank you.
And well, thank you. I really think it's an amazing story. So I want to kind of rewind a little bit, and I know we kind of mentioned this in the last episode, but I want to spend a little time talking about it because to me, it just seemed really amazing. So, where did you grow up?
In California.
In California, okay, and in
Salinas and Monterey. That area.
And that's where you went to high school?
Yeah, Carmel High.
Okay. And when you were there in high school, when there was this traumatic event. So tell me, what kind of child?
I left home at 13.
Okay, so you left home at 13. What led up to that? Was it just a bad home, bad situation, or were you just a rebellious kid?
Well, not that I wasn't rebellious, but I think I had a lot to be rebellious about. My stepfather couldn't decide who the wife was, So, I would wake up to him every morning and I knew that wasn't right. And he had a brain aneurysm. And while he was in the hospital, my mother put me in foster care. And so I ran away from the foster home and stuff. And then.
So how long were you in foster care? Real long or just a short period of time?
That time, a short period of time.
And your mom did it to get you out of the situation because your stepdad was acting inappropriately.
No.
So.
No. Because he had a brain aneurysm.
Oh, okay.
And he was in the hospital.
So because of that, she didn't think she could provide for you anymore, and so she wanted
to take care of me.
So she put you in
my brother went to family, but I went to foster care.
Okay.
And
do you have any other siblings? Just a brother?
I have a brother. I have a couple of new stepbrother and sister now.
Okay.
But back then, I just had one brother.
So you grew up in a house, your mom, your dad, your stepbrother and your stepfather was doing inappropriate things, and then he has his brain aneurysm. And during that time, your mom, at that point, put you in a foster care?
Right. I had ran away a couple of times before that, too.
Okay.
And but they would bring me back. And so after that, I got to come home, and then I left. And I tried to never come back.
So you were, 13, you said, at the time?
I was 13 and living under an overpass, And
so basically homeless. You were homeless, ran away, you were homeless, living in the streets of California, outside of LA there. So,
Monterey.
Monterey, okay. Okay.
So that's a little ways away from LA.
What would Monterey be? Help me out here. It's
Carmel by the Sea. You've heard of that. Mm-hmm. Monterey, Salinas, the Bay Area, but it's about an hour and a half away from San Francisco.
So kind of outside of San Francisco, but north of LA then?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to get my bearings there. I know California a little
Geography.
bit. Yeah, that's okay.
I slept through that.
That's okay. So you're homeless and you're living underneath an overpass. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, did you have other friends, boyfriends? What was going on there?
I mean, there were a few of us kids, that were homeless, ran away from home for various reasons. And so we kind of took care of each other.
Now, were there drugs and alcohol, or just strictly ran away? Just
I wasn't doing drugs and alcohol. I mean,
a little partying when as a young kid.
and Mad Dog 2020. When you're a kid. But I mean, other than that,
Nothing major. You weren't a drug addict or anything like that. You were just a homeless kid that ran away from a bad situation from home and foster care. You kind of have your little pack, let's call it, of other homeless kids that you're hanging out with. And you've got yourself a little place underneath an overpass in California. Okay.
And I babysat, to get money for food and stuff. And I babysat for this woman. She had a couple of kids, and Joseph Nissensohn was her boyfriend. And so I knew him. And
so who's this?
The serial killer.
Okay, the serial killer. So that's how you're babysitting kids.
And he was her boyfriend.
He was her boyfriend. And so that's how he first identified you then, huh?
Yes. And he sold drugs around the neighborhood.
Okay, so on top of being a boyfriend, he's also a bad character. He's a drug dealer.
Right.
Okay.
So I got in trouble for dining and dashing, and I wrote a ticket, and I got in trouble, and so people knew that he did that. So this one officer asked me about it, and I told him, and so Joseph found out, and I was at a restaurant with my boyfriend.
Okay. So you and your boyfriend are having a meal.
And
probably gonna dine and dash.
Right. No, he had a home. And so I came out of the restaurant, and they were in an ice cream truck. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And acted like he didn't expect to see me there, and said, "Come here." And so I went up, and the other one came behind me and pushed me in.
So you were inquiring what was going on. You see this ice cream truck, you notice somebody, "Hey, why are you here?" And at this point, even though he's a bad character, he is the boyfriend of the girl that you're babysitting kids from. Right. You're with your boyfriend walking out, so you probably felt somewhat safe that he's right there.
I was scared.
Were you really? Even at that point, because he was a drug dealer and he kind of came...
And he let me know he knew.
Okay.
That, I had said something.
Okay.
And so I was scared.
Okay, so...
I didn't expect to happen what happened.
Yeah, and where's your boyfriend in all this? Is he next to you?
No, he's just coming out of the restaurant because he was paying. And
okay, so you came out a little early. Okay, so...
So he saw it happen. And so Joseph had me by the knife, and he was with this gentleman, Jesse.
Jesse, okay.
He jumped in and drove away. And my poor boyfriend, I've always felt bad for him. He jumped in his truck and chased us, but he ran out of gas. And I can imagine that feeling. I really felt horrible for him.
So he's chasing kid, probably already low on gas if he's like the normal kid, right?
Yeah.
Runs out of gas, and now you've just been abducted by two older men. One of them an known drug dealer who is supposedly with the boyfriend of the woman you've been babysitting. Then now we got this other person, Jesse, who's now involved in this.
Yeah, I wish they were friends.
They were friends, and he pushed you into, and this was an ice cream truck.
Yeah.
Did they sell ice cream, or was it just used for the abduction?
No, it was just used for that, and I was their first victim.
Really?
Yeah, I was their first. I was what started it all.
Okay.
And so they raped me and did horrible things to me. But my boyfriend chasing me probably what saved my life, because they knew that he had seen. And so I was able to get away.
Now, when you got away, when you say you were able to get away, because they let you get away, or because there was an opportunity and you saw it?
A little bit of both,
Okay. First one, so they're not experts at this point. This is just really just trying to...
But I was bloody and, cut up and stuff. And I went back to that restaurant. It's funny. I look back at that and...
You went back to that restaurant. So did you find your way there bloodied?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Dumped me around there.
Oh, wow.
The worst thing was nobody would help me.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
So you're just there. You're bloodied. You've been abused. You were abducted. No. Do you need a Kleenex?
No.
Okay. If you need them, we got them here. Trust me. I have to imagine this would be very emotional. And so you've been dropped off. You've been abused in one of the most horrendous ways I can ever imagine, right? And you're walking around and nobody's even asking, "What? Are you okay? What's going on?" I imagine you're very...
Some people came out, a husband and wife, and they helped me.
They were out of the restaurant?
And, yeah, they were coming out of the restaurant. And they helped me. And so I went to the police, and I told. And so they did a search warrant on the ice cream truck and got my lip gloss out of there and, the semen clothes and my underwear and my blood and my other cut up clothes and stuff. And so, nowadays they don't do this to children, but back then you have to go to court and face him, and here I was a 14-year-old little girl and I did it. I went to court and I faced him, but because I was a homeless child, they said I was an unreliable witness.
Really? Even though the evidence was undeniable?
Know where they would find me. I was a street kid, and so what they taught him is you better kill them all. And so he did.
So after that, these gentlemen started doing the same exact thing on women after you. So were there two of them?
No, there were 22 that we...
No, I mean two men who were involved?
Yes.
So we have this Joseph, was that his name?
Yeah, Joseph Nissensohn.
And then Jesse. Mm-hmm. And so these two men, how old would you say they were when they first did you?
I want to say late. They looked like Cheech and Chong. It's
okay.
20 years later. I was in my 40s when the DA and the DA investigator came to see me now in Missouri. They were like, "Can you explain what he looks like?" And I said, "He looks like Cheech Marin, and Jesse looked like Chong." And they took the picture and they went, "Oh my God, you're right." He really does. Not now, but back then,
Yeah.
And, sorry.
You're okay. No worries.
So they just let him go. And so his girlfriend, his new girlfriend, was a social worker, and she had a son, and sometimes when he would pull over and get hitchhikers, or the kid would be in the van and she would be there, and she died before we got all the way to trial, but she testified in the preliminary.
So his girlfriend testified that she had witnessed a lot of this. So they go on a rampage. Do you know how many years it was, roughly?
It was quite a few, and then he was arrested for an unrelated murder. He had killed somebody during a drug deal.
So, but as far as women that he had abused and had done, you said there were 22?
22 that we could put names on. They had pictures. They put him on America's Most Wanted, even though he was in jail, because he picked kids like me that nobody would miss.
Right.
And so there were a lot of pictures of kids, and they put him on America's Most Wanted, hoping that people would come forward and say who they were and stuff.
So there were 22 young victims.
They could put names to you.
That they could put names to. And these two men did this horrendous thing over a long period of time, it sounds like, and you were their very first one. And so
I heard that they had tried to grab another girl, and they grabbed her sweater, and her sweater ripped and she got away. And she was number 2, I believe. And then the rest, they pick him up hitchhiking and stuff. So the 2 that he was convicted for, were young like me, hitchhikers, and then he took them up in the woods and and killed them.
Wow. So your life is right now, you're 13, 14 years old, radically changed. You get done with that trial? Are you still living on the streets at this point?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. What happens next? Where do you go? When do you get off the streets, or do you continue living on the streets through high school? Are you going to school?
Yeah, I mean, I tried, to go to school. I would, wash up in a bathroom of a gas station and go to school and stuff, but,
I see that now, even with the gyms.
Yeah.
I'll see guys that just take showers at the gym, and you realize that this is the only place they can take a shower.
Right. There isn't any place. And, but I didn't want, I tried going back home, and then I stole my mom's car and got pulled over, and because she had called it in. And of course, here I am. I think I was 15 at that time. And he was like, driver's license. And I was like, oh, I left it in, my other purse, And he's like, you're stupid, So they took me to juvenile hall, and my friend was with me, and, she said, not guilty. And of course I did it. I said guilty. And so I went to a group home for a while. And they were really nice people. They really were. But I didn't want to be there. It was in Sacramento, California. And so it was a ways away,
Right.
But, I was in there with a girl that tried to kill her mother. And, I was in there with some pretty bad kids, And so I ran away from there. You see a history, a pattern here of running.
Well, but also, I see a pattern of, you're just getting put in one bad situation after another.
Yeah, and they were mean to me. And they called me Farrah. She was big back then, and I had the flowing blonde hair.
Yeah, I just think of, somebody growing up in that environment, and my heart breaks. Here you are, you've been totally mistreated. And the best we have for you is a group home.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I got in trouble for joyriding, and not stealing a car, but riding in a stolen car, even though I did steal it. So I think they were trying to get me out of a bad situation by doing that,
Yeah, I guess better than the streets, right?
And,
at that point, probably.
And so I was there for a while, and then I went back to juvenile hall, and then back home, and then I left, and then I didn't ever go back. And then I lied about my age and worked at McDonald's, and rented a room, and just worked my way up, and then I got a GED, and that wasn't good enough to go to a college, And so I went to night school, adult education, so I could get a real diploma. And then I decided I was going to become a cop.
So you're going through night school, you're working jobs like McDonald's and so on.
I was very resourceful, though. Like, I'd talk somebody and give me a job about being a bookkeeper, and then I would go to the library and study how to be a bookkeeper.
Yeah, but it's good to be resourceful, and so you're working a couple of jobs. You're able to maintain. You're not rich or anything, but you're able to rent an apartment. Did you have roommates at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get a couple of roommates, but now you can shower. Now you've got a little bit of food in your plate, and probably not much, but ramen noodles is better than nothing, right? And
Still hate McDonald's to this day.
So I ran a McDonald's for 3 years. Yep, I used to smell like it forever. But yes, so you now shift into, you've decided to be a police officer. What made you want to be a police officer? Of all the things you could be at that point, that seems like everybody's kind of denied you in society, and you decide you want to serve society.
Well, I got pregnant at 18, and I had my son, and I've always been out to save the world, and
So on top of going to night classes and working these jobs, now you got a son. Mm-hmm. So you're also a mom.
Yeah.
And you got roommates kind of helping you with that, or or family, or what was going on with that, or was that just all on you?
No, all on me. He kept me motivated, I think,
Yeah. Now you got somebody you got to take care of, and absolutely motivation to provide and
make something of yourself for him. Mm-hmm. And so becoming a police officer, and
was it because they kept
kids I grew up with on the street, they're all dead, and so they died of drugs, or one girl got into prostitution, and I never wanted a kid to be like me or feel like me.
Do you think that one of the reasons that you became a police officer too was just the fact that when you got in trouble, that was the constant?
Yeah,
you were always there.
Probably.
Or even after the bad situation that you went through, that the one person you could always count on was a police officer, and you probably thought, I want to be that one person other people can count on, and as you said, that you probably felt safe from everybody when you were around them.
And the cop that took care of me after I was raped.
So you become a police officer. Mm-hmm. You got a son.
Yep.
And you're in California.
Yeah.
And so where do you start serving? Where's your first job at?
Well, going through the police academy was hard because, there were people in there that had master's degrees and stuff, and there was me, but I graduated in the top 5.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
And my first gig was undercover at a high school because I was young, and buying drugs,
You're a popular person, man. Everybody keeps calling you.
Every child I have has called me.
That's awesome, though. So your first job is actually to be an undercover cop, to act like you're a teenager and buy drugs. That's interesting.
Yeah, my daughter will keep going. Yes, I bought drugs, and
do you need to take it real quick? Do you need to take it real quick?
There's nothing wrong with her.
Well, that's okay. I was just going to say, if you need to take it real quick and let her know for a second that you can call her back, you're welcome to. So
she'll be okay.
All right.
She's probably calling because, I know, the baby sneezed. So I bought drugs and stolen property and stuff. And my backstory was, my dad was a truck driver, so that's why he wasn't around much. And, we had an apartment there and stuff. And so I didn't get to see my son much. I'd get to sneak away and go down to Fresno, was where I lived at that point.
So who was your son with?
My son was with my friend. And
okay, so he was living with your friend, and he was a truck driver?
He was in my house, or hers in my house. She was my roommate.
Okay.
So my backstory as a cop,
Yeah, please. I'm trying to understand this whole situation. So you got a son, you're an undercover person, and now you've got a roommate that you have a house with?
Yeah.
And
Apartment.
So your son's staying with that person?
While I'm working. And so I was in Oakhurst, California. And of course, they rent you an apartment and everything. And my backstory was, my dad was a truck driver. That's why he wasn't around much. And, I was a bad kid, So the great thing is no one expected me to do my homework, So that was good. This time, I didn't have to go do schoolwork. I just had to attend.
Yeah, attend and act like you're a kid and lure them in with the drugs and then help catch them. So how long do you do that? Did you do that for a while?
Yeah, I did it for, I want to say 6 months, but gosh, it's been so many years ago. And we did really good. And we made some big bust. I made the newspapers and everything with it. And we got, stolen property things. And in Oakhurst, there was nothing to do up there, It was just a small town on the way to Yosemite. And so people, had houses and they were cooking drugs and stuff, and, their kids would sell it. And so we took that down. We did really well. And then I got pregnant with my second son. So I went from doing the exciting stuff to being a bailiff. And then when I was really pregnant, I thought it was cute, but I was a beached whale with a gun.
So you got kid number 2 coming.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're transition from being a teenager now to being a bailiff, and you're a beach whale. I get it. So,
Well, when I started showing, then now you got to go serve papers, on deadbeat dads and civil suits. So, I went served papers on everybody and everything. And then when I came back to work, I just stayed doing that, because I had a new son. And then he had sudden infant death syndrome. Mm. And he didn't die. I was holding him when he quit breathing, thank God, and shook him, but he kept doing it. So I went on leave and stayed with him, and then decided not to go back. That I was in a car accident too and broke my neck. That probably.
Wow. So you have a son that had an incident. You had a car accident. So now you moved from bailiff / serving to life's changing again.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've done that a lot though.
Oh yeah.
A life changing thing.
So what happens next?
Next, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I'm going to have to answer her.
Yeah, that's okay. Stop for a second. So we're back. So you're let's kind of rewind here. You're pregnant with you had your second son. Mm-hmm. Is it a second son or second child? Second son. Have the sudden death syndrome. You saved the son.
Yes.
Okay. You also have a car accident. Hmm. Then what?
Well, I was living I stayed, off of being a police officer to be with him. And then I moved to Texas to be around my biological father. So
you move all the way from California to Texas, 2 sons. You've served as a police officer now for about a year now, maybe?
No, it was a total of 5.
Okay, 5 years.
Yeah.
So 5 years as a police officer, and now you're heading to Texas.
Right.
And that's to be by your biological dad. So not the stepdad that we've already talked about. And so, had he been in the picture before?
No, I mean, he gave me up for adoption when I was 5, I think.
So you really don't remember him?
No. At
this point. So what made you want to be by him? Did you reach out to him? Did he talk to you?
Well, I had actually, when I was 16, saved up money to buy a plane ticket and go track him down. And funny story, it was sad, but funny, and I bought the plane ticket, and when I got to Texas, I called all the Jimmy Walkers in the phone book, and then I, do you have a daughter that, went through all that thing, and I got him.
Wow. So you flew from California to Texas at 16.
Termination.
And found out, and found your biological dad because you just had a name and knew where he was.
Right.
Roughly. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So did you connect at that point?
He came and picked me up.
Okay. And so you had some relationship at that point at 16 years old. Did you stay in touch after that when you went back to California?
Well, I was hoping, I think at 16 that, you have this fairy tale. You're going to meet your real dad. He's going to rescue you from all this. Everything's going to be fine. Not. So he comes and picks me up, and I went to stay with him. His wife saw me as a threat. She didn't see me. She saw me as another woman, I think, and not his daughter. So that was short-lived. She, didn't want me around. And so he bought me a case of Michelob and gave me a new outfit and sent me on my way. Basically, really.
Really? Wow.
And so then I had to find my way back. And
didn't even buy you the ticket?
No.
Wow.
No.
All right. Well, you want to go back to be by this guy? Did he reach
I
out?
wanted to go back to California.
No. I mean,
yeah.
so now that you got two kids, how
I
does
reached out, and I don't know. I think you're just looking for something.
looking for a man in your life, some stability, right? I mean, you're looking for a provider, a man to be a provider, to be that supports you, to
Family,
compliment. Yeah. Yeah. That's
And he was, definitely not the one to give it to me, but I didn't have very good choices. So I moved out to Texas, and I love Texas. Texas is great people there and everything. And
so where around Texas were you at?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, Dallas area. Okay.
Yeah. And I bought a bar.
You bought a bar. Did you save up?
Bar, yeah.
How'd you buy a bar?
Working at Wet Willie's.
I remember Wet Willie's. She worked at Wet Willie's.
Really?
Oh yeah. We had one here in St. Louis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so
it was Fort Worth, and I bartended, and kind of like Coyote Ugly, dancing on the bar and stuff like that, and saved up money, and I bought Texanne's Neon Moon down on Highway 80 in Fort Worth.
that is funny. So
funny.
Now you're young. You got two boys. Mm-hmm. Your dad's back in your life, and you own a bar.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did that last?
I owned it for a while.
Okay.
And I had a boyfriend, and then his ex called. She was having problems with their child.
Gotcha.
And she was on drugs, and having a hard time, and she couldn't control her. And he had the son, and she had the daughter.
Gotcha.
And so I said, send her out here to me. I'll see what I can do. And I kept the kid and got rid of the boyfriend.
To this day?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And so
you take on a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So you went from 2 to 3.
Yeah, she was addicted to drugs, and she wanted to be with me more than she wanted to do drugs. So I got her straightened out, and got rid of the boyfriend though, and I kept her, and so now I've got 3 kids, and still have Texanne's Neon Moon.
Wow!
And so I decide I'm going to go to law school.
Is your dad talking to you much now? Now that you're down by him, are you guys building a relationship, or is it just like, he's just there every now and then?
He was a drunk and a drug addict himself, so I didn't have much to do with him at all.
So you went down there because of him, but you stayed because you just found good people, good places, and Midwest was certainly a different environment than California.
Yeah.
So.
And California was nothing but bad memories,
Oh, sure.
And I
can't
hate
imagine.
going there to visit even now. It's still hard, And so then we go to Colorado, and
you moved to Colorado?
Yeah.
So why did you do that? Did you just sell your Texanne's
Neon Moon, and I had a job that I had applied for there, and I wanted to go to law school.
Okay, so you went to go to law school, and there was a job that was decent, so you go to Colorado. Where in Colorado?
Great paying job and everything in Aurora.
Okay.
So I got a great job selling pagers to companies, and I did very well. And I worked that for a couple of years, and then I got a job at a temporary staffing firm.
Oh, wow.
And so I did that for 2 years.
Going to law school, working these jobs, and taking care of not 1, not 2, but 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
And, well, actually, I had 4 kids at that point because I left out an important part. When I owned Texanne's Neon Moon, a couple had come up to me and asked me if I would adopt their baby.
Wow.
And she was pregnant at the time. And so I talked to the other kids about it, and we decided we would. And so we took care of her during the pregnancy. And then she gave birth to, she insisted on naming her Texanne Jr. And so I adopted Texanne Jr.
So you got 2 boys, 2 girls, 2 that are biological, and you're going to law school, working on in jobs, taking care of your kids.
Right. And
the little scruffy girl that had been a runaway by 13 is now, and had these horrendous things happen, are raising 4 young people, drug free, and showing them how to blaze a trail. Okay, keep going. You're in Colorado.
okay.
Aurora, Colorado.
This is where you have to cut, because I got to tell you something off of this part.
Okay.
So we're in Colorado.
Okay, so let's rewind here. So we're back. Sorry, you were trying to tell me some stuff off camera, and we just wanted to see how far you felt comfortable with. So, because Colorado has a traumatic event too. So I knew about one. I didn't. Now I'm finding out about a second one. So that's okay. So we'll dive in as much as you want to go. So you're in Aurora, Colorado. Before we go anywhere else, so tell me a little bit of where you want to go with that. So
I met a guy, and we dated, and it was actually kind of weird because there was, well, I call it a cult now. And it wasn't, but it was a place where, kind of like a counseling thing.
Okay.
So if you would go through these classes, and then they'd, break you down and then build you back up and all this, right? And so I had met this girl, and she was telling me all about it, and I thought, well, that'd probably be good for me, right?
Sure.
And so I thought, well, I'm going to try it. So you go to these classes, and it's like 6-8 weeks, and you go in the evenings and stuff, and all day Saturday, and like they have you write a letter to someone that wronged you, whatever your anger is, So like,
yeah, they're doing a lot of inner reflection and self-counseling type stuff.
And then
I
you
get
beat
it.
up the chair, things like that. Anyway, so I met a guy there, and we dated, and he was a plumber. I thought a nice guy, and he had gone through the class that we met there.
Yeah. So he's going through, and you feel like he's probably dealt with whatever he's dealing with, and you've dealt with yours.
So we're good. Yeah, we're not. And so he hid his drinking from me. The last part of law school, you can't work because you have to go and volunteer for a judge and do all these kind of things, and I'm working up to being able to do that, with all these kids,
Right. Yeah. 4 kids.
and stuff. And him and I had been dating for a while, and then he, suggested, us moving in together, and, it's a natural progression, I guess. And boy, I was moving in, and I knew day one, this is a mistake, but I didn't know how to go backwards, I guess,
Yeah, sure.
And
that makes sense. I mean, you're also kind of feeling this pressure of law school, right? I mean, you don't really feel like you have as many options. You don't got a dad or mom that you can fall back on. We've already learned that. So
I made spaghetti, and he passed out in his spaghetti, and from drinking, and I was like, God, I didn't even know you drank like this. I mean, I think sometimes we see what we want to see,
that's a fair assessment.
I probably didn't want to see that, I wanted something good like that. Anyway, so I was going to leave about a month in, and he beat me. So I was scared to leave. So this went on for a while. And then he beat me really bad.
Yeah.
And he hit me with Texanne Jr. in my arms. And so I got away. And I called the police and everything. And they were going to go get him because he knocked my teeth out. And I mean, I was beat up bad. And when they went to go get him, he barricaded himself in the house, and he had guns, and he took everything I owned and cut it in two with a hunting knife. And he cut the heart out of all my bras and my shirts, and he cut up every belt. I mean, anything that I owned.
Is he an alcohol? I mean, is he drunk at this point, or is he just goes in his fitful of rage? Probably rage.
Sometimes he wasn't drunk when he would do it. He was just
an angry person.
Very.
Okay.
And so it took them hours to talk him down. He barricaded the doors and all that. So when they finally got in and took him to jail, all my stuff was ruined.
Right.
The criminal psychologist said that he had to sit there for 8 hours to do what he had done and stuff, and so he was in jail, and I took my savings and got a place to live, where he wouldn't know. And but back then they really didn't protect you, So
I don't know if they really protect you today.
Yeah.
I think most of it's
it's a little bit better than I went through.
Yeah, but I mean,
A restraining order isn't.
yeah, restraining order.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that's about all they can do, and that, as you just said, there's not a whole lot that does. I mean, by the time that's it can be implied, the damage is done.
Right. So he, they let him out, and then he cut my brake lines when I was at work, and he's always trying to kill me, cut my brake lines, or trying to do
He's
something.
become psychotic. He's
stalking me.
Wow.
and everything. So I tell, so they arrest him again, and so they put him on an ankle bracelet, and he found me again, and he'd tell me, I'll get this ankle bracelet off, and I'll come over and kill you and get back here before they even know it. And I believe that's true,
well, certainly he's beat you at the point. I mean, if he's knocked teeth out of your mouth, there's a reason you got to be scared.
Yeah, the black eyes were so bad that 3 weeks later, they were running, the bruises were coming down my face. I mean, it was bad. So he told the ankle monitor place that he was moving and gave him my address. And so I came home from work and had the kids, from daycare and all that, and come in, and he's in my house, plugged in to my phone line with a gun. And he held us for 4 days. And I convinced him, I would be with him, and but the kids can't stay and not go to school and stuff like that. He had to let me go to work. I was going to start wondering where they are, and they're going to come, and it took 4 days to convince him, but he believed me finally. And so when we got out of the house, I ran straight to the police. And they went to my house and they arrested him. And I went to his court date, and they weren't doing anything to him. And I didn't even realize it, but I stood up in the middle of the court and I said, "You're not going to be satisfied until he kills me." And I ran out of the court. And they must have stopped the court because the district attorney ran after me. And so I started telling her, because she pushed me in a vacant courtroom. She's like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "He's cut my brake lines, he's beat me, he's held me at gunpoint, all this." But because it happened in different counties, when he would go to court, they wouldn't run him on other ones, And so nothing was happening to him. And his father was an FBI agent. So he was always helping get him out of trouble, And so she had a guard come and guard me in the courtroom. And then she went back in there and asked to approach, I guess. And she told me that she told the judge. And so the judge held him on $1 million bond, and then they made him go to every county, and they did the $500,000 bond in all the different counties and stuff, and then because his dad had helped him find me and do all that, and they were going to try and get his father for that, and he had literally tried to kill me. They were talking to me about witness protection, because they knew that if he got out, he would kill me. And so I didn't want to give up everything and go to Wichita with Toto, and work in a 7-Eleven. So I did it on my terms, My daughter wanted to go to UNLV, when she got for college and stuff. And her biological mother lived in Vegas, and he didn't know that or anything. And so they changed my name, and then we left.
So you have a new name and a new location. Where's this at now?
Las Vegas.
Vegas. So.
But the man that owned the business was a huge corporation that I worked for at the time, temporary staffing firm, that, when I went to quit, the owner, because I was, one of the number one salespeople, I told him what was going on, and he said, between me and you only, I'll work with them. And he said, I have offices all over, and you can still work for me. And he said, we'll just get rid of the old person and hire the new person. And you don't have to tell anybody anything. And so he did do that for me. Mm-hmm. And so I had a job, a good job.
Good job doing what you like doing there. Now just on the other side of another state.
Right.
So.
States away. So, you have to get a post office box to go to a post office box, goes to a post office box, and
so how long are you in Vegas?
I was in Vegas for a long time. I don't remember exactly.
Okay, so quite a while.
Quite a while,
and you're raising 4 kids.
Yeah.
Still raising 4 kids. Now, they're probably starting to get a little bit old, some of them.
Yeah, they're getting older, and teenagers, and hard place to raise children. I got boss from hell, so I quit and opened my own, and I did really well for myself, and I had a temporary staffing firm there, worked with all the hotels and stuff, and then I got sick, and so I sold it, and I was sick for a few years, and had to go on disability. And so we had to move. And so we moved to Oklahoma. And my oldest daughter, had moved there. She was grown now. And so we went and stayed with her. And Justin, my oldest son, he's grown by this time. And
so they're both there?
Junior, yeah, we were all there. And
where's is that?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. So you moved from Nevada to Oklahoma because your kids are there.
And I was sick.
And you were sick,
So
yeah.
I moved in with my oldest daughter and Texanne Jr. and I did.
And so you're still by yourself, not married?
Yeah, not married.
Okay.
And then I get better. And I'm like, what am I going to do for a living? And so I decided I'm going to sell cars. And so I went to work for Crown BMW. And I have monkeys by now.
Okay.
Yeah, I had monkeys when I was in Vegas.
So you started having the monkeys in Vegas, and you're sick, and you're taking care of a monkey or two at this point.
Yeah, I had a capuchin and Stitch, and it helped me. I mean, I had got my first monkey when I was 21, in all actuality, and I had him for quite a long time, and then I had a few years where I didn't, and then I always had monkeys after that, you know.
Yeah, so you're living with your daughter, your oldest, and your son's down there, and I guess the other two came with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're still a unit of 5 with the monkey now.
Right.
Okay, 5 plus a couple of those. All right, and so you decide you're going to go to work, and you're working for Cadillac?
No, BMW.
BMW, sorry, Crown BMW. Okay, so you're doing BMWs. All right.
And my son he doesn't get pregnant, but his
wife gets started. Yeah. Girlfriend at the time?
Yeah. She gets pregnant, and he gets a job in St. Louis. And I didn't want my grandchildren to grow up without me, you know. And so I called Suntrup BMW and said, you know, I'm the number one salesperson out here in BMW, and you know, hire me. And he says, you know, come out here and interview. And so I thought I was coming out here for an interview, and so, you know, we're talking and everything, and he's like, so are you starting Monday? And I'm like, that's not how this works. You know, you come for an interview, then you go back and you quit your job, you know, 2 weeks notice, and you got to move. And he's like, so the following Monday. And so, yeah.
You quickly moved from Oklahoma up?
Yeah.
Was your daughter staying in Oklahoma, your oldest?
My oldest, yeah.
Is she still there now?
Yes, she is. She's in Manford, and she's still in the temporary staffing firm business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
I raised her in it, and she stayed in it.
A little knock off the old block, eh?
Yeah.
So she's doing that. Does she have family?
She has 2 children.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good for her. And then you're in St. Louis. Did the other 2 come with you?
Yes.
So the other 2 come with you? Monkey?
Yes, of course.
Texanne? So, and now your son and his girlfriend plus 1. So.
And I worked at BMW for quite a few years. I used to do their TV commercials, you know, on Channel 11. You know, the car I would drive through. And actually, Stitch did one of the commercials with me.
Well, all right.
And then I went to work for the other Suntrups and stuff. And then I started getting another monkey later on. And let's see.
And your kids probably get older. Your youngest ones by this point have to start getting older. They're starting to get on their own, hey?
Teenagers.
Yeah.
Texanne Jr., she's 28 now. And so she was a teenager when I went to work for Craig and Butch Suntrup.
Okay.
And then I get a phone call from my second son's dad. And he said, I got to talk to you. And I never told people what had happened to me as a kid. But I did tell him. He was one of the people that that kind of knew.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever thought I was telling the truth,
Sure.
but they were looking for me. And he said, they called me and they need you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, they want to take that man that did that to you to court, and they want you to call them. And he goes, if you don't want to, and you don't have anything to do with it, then he said, I'll tell them I don't know where you are. He said, because obviously they can't find you. And I said, no, I'll call him. And so I called him, and they asked me some questions, and they asked if they could fly out and see me. And it's funny because when they were first going to take him to trial and get him.
This is the man who, at the very beginning, the very first incident of things going on. And what are they taking him to trial for? Was it for you?
No, they couldn't take him to trial for me.
Right.
They were trying to try him for murder of two of the girls.
Two of the girls of the 22 that they knew about. Okay. I thought that was what you were saying. I like to clarify. So.
Right.
Yeah.
They felt that was their strongest case. So they flew out to talk to me because they accidentally found out about me. They didn't know about me until the man that was writing the book, was talking to them and stuff. And then he's like, well, what about this girl, And they were like, who is that? And the author of the book knew about me because the police officer that talked to me and that took my statement, he was the detective and stuff. He had a box of cases that always bothered him that never got decided. And I was in the box.
Oh, wow.
So they went and saw the officer, and the officer gave him the report and everything. And so I was the only live person they had. That Joseph, of Joseph's victims.
Yeah, you're one of the only ones that got away.
Yeah, I was the only one that got away.
Yeah, well, I think of the other gal who had the sweater.
Right,
yeah, getting away. She didn't go through your experience, though.
But yeah, she really got away.
Yeah, no, but so you reach back out to them, and now they're having a conversation. They want to take this guy to court. You got away.
Yeah, they fly out to interview me and talk about what happened. And
was that traumatic? Because by this point, you've kind of moved on. You've moved on with your life.
My kids didn't even know.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
My kids didn't even know. Nobody knew. And
now it's coming out. I mean, they've got to know this, right? I mean,
I had them come when they flew in. I had them come when the kids were at school and stuff, and to talk about it. And so, they tell me they're going to take them to trial, and it's going to take a while to get there. But you're the only living witness, and by now I'm talking to my mother, though, and so I tell her, and she's like, no, you can't do that. What if he gets out? What if he'll come back after you? And but in my mind, there wasn't a choice. You have to.
Yeah.
For those poor kids,
Absolutely. Not only that, the ones that he may continue to go after if he's not put away.
Right. So, I agreed to testify. And so I think it took 2 more years. And I think then I remember the moment that it set back in what had happened. The subpoena, all that, I brought it for you. When the man came in to serve me the subpoena, he's like, about this? He said, because if you say no, at that point they take you, and because you're a material witness in that. So I'm like, no, I'm going. So my ex-husband, said that he would like to go for support with me. And
was he married to you at this point, or was he ex at this point?
No, I think we were still married. We'd been separated for a good year.
And where did you meet him?
St. Louis.
So he was from St. Louis. So you got married while
bars for me.
You got married in St. Louis at this point. Okay.
And so he buys a plane ticket. Of course, they pay for me to travel, and we're sitting at the airport, and I started feeling sick. So I started listening to music. And I went to the bathroom, and I got sick a couple of times. But I'm thinking it's the flu, you must be sick with the flu, something,
Right.
But it wasn't. It was the PTSD coming back, And so I was like pouring down with sweat and starting to freak out. And, then they're calling for us to get on the plane. And I must have seemed like a crazy woman. We started to get on the plane. And I was like, nope, nope, no, nope, nope, nope. And so I'm starting to leave. And then my ex says to me, well, what about the luggage? It's already in the plane. And so then I become fixated on the luggage being in the plane. And I'm like, I need my luggage. And the stewardess is like, well, it's in there. And I'm like, I don't care. You don't understand. I'm not going on vacation. I was going to do something that's really horrible. I need it. I need it. And she's like, okay. And she's like, we'll get it. We'll get it. And they did. They must have thought I was totally out of my mind. I was, I was freaking out. It was being like claustrophobic. I had to get out of that airport, get away from everything. And so I get home, and then I'm just ashamed I didn't get on the plane. And so, I call the detective, for the prosecutor, and I call victim witness because they're involved in everything. And I said I didn't get on the plane. And I'm like, I don't know that I can. And they were so good. They were all going to fly out and go with me, fly back with me. I was like, that just made me feel stupid. No, I don't want that. And it was something about the plane. I was like, can I drive? No, you wouldn't be here in time. Can I take a train? I did not want to get on that plane for some reason. And so I got a Xanax and took a Xanax. And I'm like, okay, you can do this. And so they had to rearrange my plane again. And Tony had to rearrange his again. And I'm like, just let me try again, And they're like, okay. And so I couldn't fly into where I needed to. They had to drive an hour and a half out of the way to come get me, to take me up the mountain. And, but I said, I don't want to get to the airport any earlier than we can. I just want to have to run on the plane. And I think I even took another half of Xanax before I got there. And, just to stay a little bit calm, and somehow I got on that plane, and then we had to spend the night in Sacramento, and then go
off
up
to court.
the hill. And I had to testify twice, once out of the ears of the jury in front of the judge, because he has to say whether it's admissible or anything, because he wasn't convicted of what he did to me. But we did have a preliminary trial and stuff like that. And then once they said that it wasn't prejudicial, that it was evidence, then I had to testify in the presence of the jury. And so it was a long time. It felt like forever staring at this man again. And then comes time for, cross-examining, and his lawyer, apologized. He said, I'm sorry, this is my job, and, I'd like to commend you on how you took yourself from that to where you are now. And, because at this point I was, a general sales manager for the Sun Trips, which not too many girls have achieved anything like that in St. Louis, It's a
anywhere.
World,
Well, yeah, I was going to say, not just in St. Louis, anywhere. So that's great.
And then he started to try and come at me and stuff. And the strangest thing happened. Joseph tapped him and said, "Leave her alone." You could read his lips. Weird. And he asked me a few more questions, and he left me alone.
Wow.
I know. And
that makes you wonder to this day, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You watch those shows that where they go back and they face the person, I've often thought of doing that, asking, why me? Why, why?
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I flew home, and he was convicted, and then we went for the death penalty. And
not just him, the partner too, right?
No, the partner died.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the wife died too before the trial, but because she had testified in the preliminary and stuff, they were able to read her testimony in and stuff. But Jesse had died, and so then we ended up getting the death penalty.
Wow.
And he's in San Quentin. I know this because I check every month. Like, I don't know where my brain thinks he's going to go.
Yeah, that's okay. So he's in San Quentin. And didn't he have a famous cellmate for a while?
Right next to Scott Peterson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did anything ever come of the other guy?
Of
the crazy Colorado guy?
Yeah, he served 15 years, I think, in prison.
His dad?
No.
Hopefully he's not an FBI agent anymore.
He was retiring.
Okay, good.
But anyway, so.
Yeah. But still, what an abuse of power.
Yeah.
So all that goes on. You come back, and what do? You become a monkey rescue?
Yeah. And so I have a sanctuary. Well, they rescued me.
Yeah, I mean, you come out of that trauma. Now, I mean, you face it not once.
Twice.
But twice with that guy, and then you have the other trauma that you had to live through. So you got these horrific events that happen, and now you're back in St. Louis. You got one daughter in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Are the other three still in St. Louis?
One son in California.
Okay.
And then a son and a daughter here.
Okay.
And
grandkids.
And a foster child. And
foster kids. So you fostered a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I did that also in Las Vegas. I worked with the Salvation Army out there and helped start the VISTA program for putting the homeless to work and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I worked and did that and bought them glasses. People that needed glasses so they could work, or
even while you're struggling along, you're still doing all this. I mean, you're most of this time you're a single mom and just taking care of your kids.
It's hard being on the streets. I was fortunate, to pull myself out. But, all the people that I was on the streets with, like I said, they're all dead.
So your kids here are all doing well. And the foster kid, how old's the foster kid? Is it a young one?
When I had him, I got him, Mario went to school with Texanne Jr.
Okay.
And his mother had a few kids, and she had some mental issues and stuff. And and he would sleep on my floor for like days and stuff. And then when we moved to the other side of town, he got in some trouble and sent to a boys' home. And then we actually, like a year and a half later, we had moved back to that side of town and heard about it. So we would go and visit him, you know, at the boys' home. And then his mother gave us permission to be able to take him on the weekends. And then they approached me and said, you know, that they were going to make him age out in the boys' home, but that if I agreed to take him, that, you know, he could get out. And so I took him. And his mother signed over custody to me and stuff. And
so now you got another kid, another foster kid.
Right. And he got him through high school and everything. And he's a truck driver now.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And
so all these kids, and you've already got monkeys, and then more monkeys come. So and somewhere in there you get married again, right? You go through a divorce and you're married now, right? Am I thinking right? Okay. So
almost 8 years.
Wow.
Which is a miracle for me.
Well, I think you've gone through a lot. I think, you know, probably because of the character of the people that you were around.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's hard in relationships when you've been through things like that.
Oh, I can't imagine.
You know, it's hard to trust.
I was about to say trusting would be huge.
You know, really hard. And you lose trust easily with somebody, you know, which isn't fair for them.
No.
You know, someone makes the slightest mistake, you're like, well, I'm done. You know, someone lies to you once, you're like, yep, done. You know.
And the monkeys start adding up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so what do you do today? Are you still employed?
Yes. I am the vice president of sales for it's a tech company, but we go into credit unions and we show them how they can make more money. We sign their loans for them and we bring refis to them, show them how to get their members to bring their loans back to them and stuff.
Gotcha. And you still do the monkeys?
I do.
And how many monkeys you got? Plus one since the last time we talked, right?
Yeah, I'm at 17.
17.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you got a little baby? What's the baby's name?
Gabby Sue.
Gabby Sue.
She's a year old.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's a spider monkey, and she's adorable. But she, you know, people get monkeys, especially spider monkeys. There's this, I'm fighting this all over and trying to get better laws passed and stuff, you know, in my spare time. There are people that are going over to Mexico and they are, because it's, you know, everybody seems to want a monkey. They don't realize what that entails.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big market for monkeys. And so people are going over to Mexico and killing spider monkey moms and ripping their babies off of them and then smuggling them over. And people are buying them, you know. 2 years ago, they were paying $20,000 a piece for them. And people were bringing them over in, you know, 20 at a time.
Wow.
And it's wrong. And they're already endangered. And they're becoming critically endangered. And, you know, they're able to smuggle them over. And, you know, like, get an RV, they have, you know, a freezer, and then they put a false bottom. These poor little monkeys are down there. And now they're starting to do white-faced capuchins. And they just caught 20 trying to cross the border 2 weeks ago. And, you know, nothing's happening. They're not stopping them from selling with all these people. But also, they bring things over that we don't have over here, you know? And
so we need to secure our borders is what we need to do.
We do.
And it's not just for our sake, but it's for the animal's sake.
It is. It's for all of it.
Yeah.
I get 5 calls a day for people needing help with monkeys.
Wow.
They've never had a monkey. I just bought it at a swap meet, and I fed it twice today. And, but it's, I had someone call me and they were like, I heard you can help me. And, my spider monkey is sick. And, I'm like, where are you? They're like, Mississippi. I can't do anything, and then I have to listen to as they're going, oh no, now it's having a seizure and it dies. And they send me a picture of the dead monkey, and then there's another one I got, they called me from San Antonio, Texas, and she let the monkey be sick all night, and some people in the monkey world found out about it, tried to talk her into taking it to the vet, and they called me to convince her. So I did, and I got a vet to open his doors on a Sunday. And 10 minutes after she got there, it died, because they're bringing him over and they're not taking care of him. These people know how to take him, and, tons are dying per day.
Oh, wow.
And, plus they bring over parasites and they're not taking them to vets. And then people are getting sick.
Sure. I've seen that too. I mean, it's just not a good situation.
It's not.
Yeah, leave them in their natural habitat and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of visiting places. I like to go look. I mean, I'm a hunter, so I enjoy hunting when we can, but I'm also in that same vein. I love conservation, and I love being able to go visit a national park. Mm-hmm. And I find just as much enjoyment seeing the creation.
Right, me too.
Yeah, so I when I see monkeys and all that, I just always think, man, let them be in their natural environment so we can just really enjoy who they are. Let them be monkeys.
And then, people get them and they don't realize a spider monkey is going to get 30 pounds and be, 3.5 feet tall.
And poop like there's no tomorrow.
Right.
They're dogs. They're like small dogs. Yeah. Well, I get that all the time. People just don't understand the responsibility that all these different animals entail. There's a reason why so many people get a dog or a cat and don't want it after a while, because they're responsibility, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, I don't go on vacation. It takes me, I get up, at 3 o'clock in the morning so that I can spend 2.5 hours feeding them and then get ready for work, And I work from home so that I can be around them and everything. And, I don't go out to dinner.
Yeah, you're lucky to be here.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
I was 5 minutes late at that.
That's all right. Well, I know you've lived this incredible life, but it sounds like in the midst of all these tragic events, God has always sustained you. He's always been with you. And it sounds like you've got great kids. He's allowed you to have compassion in ways that maybe most of us would never have compassion. And so those are good traits. Those are good traits. And if, and 8 years being married, that's something to celebrate too.
It is.
So that is something very much.
That's
the
hardest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
Marriage is hard.
It's work.
Even on the good days, it's work.
It's work. Yeah. Yeah. But it's worth it. Yeah. Trust me, I've been married quite a while now, and I wouldn't trade her for the world. So I think I would absolutely say, but everybody comes into it with their luggage. Yours we're talking about, but the truth is he has luggage too. So.
Well, it's he had a perfect childhood, and his dad was a lawyer and his mother was a stay-at-home mom. He had 6 brothers. He had a storybook, one. So sometimes he doesn't get it, Like my refrigerator has to be full of food. I have a thing about it, Yeah,
because you live without for so long.
Right. And so I'm really funny about food. And he's like, that's just crazy. And I'm like, yeah, but you've never gone without a meal.
Yeah. Once you go without a meal for not a day, not a 2 days, but sometimes weeks on end.
Right.
Or eating such little. Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
You.
My dad was that way. He grew up really, really, really poor in Arkansas. And when he was able to have money and be able to afford, comfort, food was definitely his comfort. So, yeah.
I still, try and rescue the whole world, though. That's another thing, because of what had happened to me. I never want another kid to feel like that. I tried the last 2 weeks. I took in another child and tried to help her, but she wasn't ready for the help,
Yeah.
And you have to be ready, and
You have to hit rock bottom a lot of times.
yeah,
Yeah, usually that means getting rid of the watch.
right, yeah,
Watch, or maybe it's phone today, but I had a cousin that years ago worked for a state department, not here in Missouri, but another one, and that was her job, was to work with drug addicts and stuff like that. And she would say, that they weren't hit rock bottom until they lost their watch, because the last thing most people will get rid of at that time was their watch.
right.
So, of course, that was before
Now it's their cell phone.
cell phones were as common. But yeah, I was going to say, yeah, certainly when they have nothing else, that's what they're going to get rid of, right?
Right.
So, watch was the only way they know time,
Right.
wherever they were. So, well, Texanne, thank you for your time today. Thank you for bringing your monkeys before. Thank you for this incredible story and life that you've lived and shared with us. And I hope that you know that you're loved today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And I think it's great, that we should all look for opportunities to serve other people and look for those in need. The fact that, even during your story, you were saying, like, when you're in Vegas, you were reaching out to the homeless, through the Salvation Army. I mean, that just is, that's inspirational to all of us, that we should all be engaged in our community and helping the least of these, as the Bible would say. So.
Totally. I mean, sometimes I'll just go into a Goodwill or a Salvation Army and, pay for everybody's stuff that's in line, and not that I'm rich, because I'm definitely not,
But you just want to bless people, because you know that people there might need it.
And a lot of times they're shopping there because that's all they can afford,
Mm-hmm.
So like at Christmas time, there was a little girl, because I go to Goodwill and Salvation Army to buy the monkey toys, so I go there a lot and check and see if they have new toys, because they're just going to tear them up. And there's this little girl, and she was, staring at, the doll and the crib, and it was up there, and her mom was like, I don't have the money for that, and it was $4, and we spend that on a latte,
Oh, yeah.
and I know what it's like not to have $4, and so I was like, no, we're buying her all of it,
I can only see you, Texanne, doing that. That's awesome.
all of it. But her mom was like, do you mind if you do it in secret so I can save it for Santa?
Oh, that's awesome.
And it broke my heart, But at least she had something for Santa. But, still, there's so many families out there like that.
Yeah. Well, as I said, there's people like you too, right? We all want to help out. So I think that's great. Well, thanks again for being here. Thanks for those listening in to this great conversation. Hopefully you were blessed and you learned something from it. That said, also don't forget to support those that support us. Don't forget Brookes Bible Institute. Don't forget Resource One and Andy McCollum and his team. If you have any financial planning needs, 636-458-1798. Chris and CS Design, they do the new intro you've been seeing, the outro, and you can reach those guys at 573-436-3717. And lastly, Jeff Earhart with State Farm Insurance, 314-821-JEFF. That's 314-821-5333. All those guys, we appreciate their support. Appreciate yours. Well, I'm looking forward to going back out and spending some time with Nico and his friends.
Yeah.
Sometime when it warms up, and so we'll do another podcast where we get the monkeys and maybe a little more in their natural habitat versus crazy around here. But that was fun. I still get a lot of people that come and they love watching Nico climb up the side and all the different monkeys. It was such a fun time.
Like them at their home where they feel comfortable, you'll really enjoy that.
Well, we'll do it. For that said, though, for those that watched the first, if you haven't seen her first episode with all the monkeys in here, you should check it out. Number two, if you want to help support the monkey rescue, we're going to put all that contact information, just like we did in that episode, in this one, so you guys can help support a great cause and help, as we were just saying earlier, all these monkeys that need help. So. And you can be a good Samaritan. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Texanne.
Thanks
and
for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And we'll catch you guys next episode. God bless.
You're safe.